It was impossible. There is no time to grab a life jacket when you're going overboard. I felt that if somebody didn't get to me real quick, I would drown.
Before setting out that day, Brendan Darcy made sure that his son had a life jacket on.
Took Kieran down to the down below and got him a vest and put it on very tight. For some reason, it was particularly important for me that day to put it on tightly. For myself, I didn't wear one. And it wasn't a common practice for us to wear life vests on board.
John West was at the wheel of the boat.
2 power boats passed us, one to the left and one to the right, which threw us right out of kilter. The forward end went up and the boat just tipped right over.
We ended up in the water in a blink of an eye.
And next thing I knew, I came out of the water and I was like, I didn't know what happened, and I was screaming my head off in the water. And
I hit the underside of the boat, and my instincts kind of shrieked at me, get away from the boat, get away from the engine. I bobbed up 20 yards from the boat, and fortunately right beside my son.
I knew like I wasn't necessarily going to drown, but like I wouldn't let go of my dad, and he said, "Kieran, let go of me, otherwise I'm going to pull you down with me."
My fear of staying with him was that if I should panic or if he should panic, we'd both go down before they could get to us.
Not realizing that Brendan was not a good swimmer, it was a little difficult to comprehend right away. See, my interest was mainly then in Kieran, because I felt that Brendan was big enough to look after himself.
And I consoled him, and then in my lack of wisdom, I decided I'd swim for our boat. I probably made about 10 feet. It's hard to gauge, but it seemed like I was swimming for a very short period of time, and I started sinking.
Then I noticed Brendan's head disappear underwater, so I dove in.
At the same time, a passing boat had spotted Kieran and was able to pull him to safety.
They spotted his life vest before they spotted him.
By now, Brendan was in serious trouble.
At one point, I actually passed out, and the lights were flickering and everything was kind of coming and going, and I knew that if somebody didn't get to me real soon, I would drown for sure.
Reached them, and then he disappeared by then, so I dove down and managed to find him.
Well, the first thing John had to do was to get me to the boat, which was quite a task. The next challenge I had was getting me on board.
I told them that he was in dire straits. I asked if anybody had CPR.
I'm told the first thing they did was slug me to get the water out of me, which came out rapidly, I guess, and then started CPR and started mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
I thought he was gonna die, and then I was actually relieved because he was breathing again. And
I stayed in the water right up until we had him breathing on his own.
Brendan was now breathing on his own. He was immediately taken to a local hospital.
A shock set in that evening, and I became very, very emotional, given the fact that I just died and lived through it. First thing I do when I go out in the water is put my life jacket on, and it stays on until we land at the dock.